Hi everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. I had a really interesting annual retreat that happened last weekend, and I wanted to mention it here for Eating Peace audience because, oh my God, people always do amazing work on their bodies at this particular annual retreat. The retreat is held at Brighton Bush Hot Springs in the Oregon Cascades. It's deep in the old growth woods, and it's just an incredible, nurturing, pristine, fresh air place. There's hiking and all kinds of wild inner wilderness, a very cozy sense of space. There's little tiny cabins, and it reminds me of Laura Ingalls Wilder because they're completely wooden, kind of dark on the inside with little lamps and built-in cupboards. And there's plumbing. And the plumbing is supplied, the heat for all the little cabins is supplied from these natural hot springs, Brighton Bush Hot Springs. And there are also a few different areas on the very gigantic property that's acres and acres where people can go and dunk and soak in the hot springs. There are one space where there's four kind of formal, beautiful pools built that are like hot tubs. And then there's another space called the Meadows, which are just natural open springs, kind of up high. And one of them is silence only, quite beautiful. There's a sauna that's been built. And these hot springs have existed for a long time and drawn people to this area for many, many years. Apparently it was a thriving community like in the 1940s. So we have this annual retreat there every year. I love hosting it. The primary purpose is for doing the work of Byron Katie, basically learning it and practicing it from start to finish. People come who are experienced, people come who are brand new, doesn't matter. We have 4.5 days together. And some people, when they find out it's at Brighton Bush Hot Springs, and then they discover there are some areas just only in that pool place that are clothing optional. They have little places, little hooks where you can hang up your bathrobe or your clothing. People also wear bathing suits all the time. That's more comfortable for them. But they just don't even like the idea of the nudity that they might encounter. And some people come. There was one woman, in fact, this year who wrote to me beforehand and said, "My God, I can't believe it's clothing optional. I can't do that. This is going to be impossible." And I said, "Don't worry. It's only in this certain area with the pools. The whole entire grounds is gigantic. And if you don't want to use any pools and you don't want to soak and you don't want to go naked, that's your choice. It's fine." I myself usually don't do that. So just for other reasons, not so much for the one I'm going to share with you today. I like to keep my private time to prepare and plan and do my own retreat, organizing based on who's there. It's kind of a project and it's wonderful and I love it. So when I'm not in session with the people, then I go to my own cabin often and just contemplate where we're going next and if the curriculum is just right for what's happening. And meanwhile, then people get to go and go hiking and have meals and maybe soak in the hot springs. So I wanted to share with you this fun thing. This woman wrote and said, "I'm so uncomfortable. I can't believe that place that you're doing the retreat has clothing optional tubs." And I know people have had the same response in the past. Many people come and they might even discover this is the case. And they think, "Oh my God, I could never do that." What a fabulous opportunity for doing the work. And I know people with eating issues often have deep, very painful, very difficult body image concerns. My body's too fat, my body's ugly, my body's aging, it's not right, I'll be rejected. People will think things about me that are really uncomfortable or somehow abandoning, difficult, betraying. Like they'll attack me in their mind, even if they don't say it out loud. And then people also feel on top of that like they're being superficial or childish or immature to even be concerned. So it's sort of like a double bind. I've got these concerns about appearing naked in front of people or even seeing nudity in my environment, and I shouldn't be thinking that. I should be over this by now. Kind of hard. Such a great opportunity for self-inquiry, for really questioning and freeing yourself from those kind of painful, agonizing, self-oriented beliefs that are really difficult, that so many people share by having a body. So almost always there is some work on the body during this Breitenbush retreat. And I always offer work on the body during any Eating Peace, just core basic intro teleclass, when we're learning how to look at what we think of as difficult and then taking it to inquiry. So if you ever have the thought, my body's too ugly, one thing you can ask yourself and do some little journal writing on is, why? Why do I need it to be prettier? Why do I need it to look differently? What is really bad about this? If I was from another planet and I didn't know about all the rules for what bodies are supposed to look like and who gets what and who doesn't get other things and what appearance is supposed to mean, how would I learn about that here? What's going on with this whole appearance needs to be just right thing? It's usually to have a sense of connection and contact with other people. I mean, that's a beautiful thing to want. It's sort of a human thing. It's like love, connection, contact. And we think it has something to do with our bodies. And that's very natural. So, you can then see that what the belief is, if I looked a certain way, I would be liked. And then I would have contact. I'd be connected. I wouldn't be separate from others. Is that actually true? You get to question, is that actually true? Is my appearance really what would make intimacy happen? Connection, honesty, authenticity, contact with others. Is that based on my appearance? Is that actually true? I mean, we all know that there's kind of like that first impression thing, or, you're sizing up somebody and saying, oh, you hear their accent, oh, they're from that country, and they're, whatever. Kind of take all these things in, you take this information that you've learned, so like data, but it doesn't really mean anything to you, except for maybe you make some assumptions about their experiences or who they are, but you might be curious. And just wondering, my body needs to be a certain way in order to be loved. Sometimes people think they need to be thin in order to have a relationship. Just heard that last week, working with somebody on that one. It's a powerful one to do the work on. I need to be thin in order to have a relationship. Is that true? Can I absolutely know that that's true? I can't find it to be absolute. I see people with all kinds of body shapes and sizes and all kinds of things like, not having arms and legs and every kind of thing you can think of as possible, still being alive in a human body, who are in relationships. Not true. How do I react when I believe my body isn't right? I hide, I cover it up. I don't go to the beach. I don't go outside. I don't go in those hot springs at Breitenbush. I make sure that nobody sees so that they don't make the judgment that I'm already making about myself. It's a hard way to live. Who would I be without this story? Who would I be if I couldn't even think this thought? Just freely walking down the street with this body. This is who I am. This is my job. This is me in the current focus of whatever is in this world right now. You can see the garbage truck come along back outside. The garbage truck will be included in this video today. So in a way that's just perfect because it's sort of garbagey in our minds, and I don't mean to discount what's happening in your head, but to eliminate yourself from enjoying and making contact and being intimate with reality, which includes other humans, because of how you appear, that's you eliminating yourself from contact with reality. I used to do that. I still have things that I really hesitate over. You'll think this is funny. I got to share this with you. I was doing yoga in my little cabin, stretching at the Breitenbush retreat, all by myself. And since I had shorts on, which is unusual for Seattle, Washington, even in the summer, in my opinion, It's gray outside today, for example. But since I had shorts on down there, I could see my legs, and I have a scar on my right leg. And being in my 50s, my skin is much looser than it once was. And around this big scar on my leg where I had cancer, it sort of hangs. And I was just staring at it with the most fascination, like, that is really interesting, because you're sort of in a different position if you're doing, standing up and doing this downward facing dog position. And I thought, look at that. That's amazing. That used to be smooth and tight. And now it's kind of scarred and gapping and saggy, and it looks like an old piece of material. Fascinating. But I didn't have the feeling, oh no, this is terrible. This means something about me personally. I was just sort of more fascinated with what the body does. And I call that freedom. It's freedom compared to what I once would have done with an image like that when I was 14 years old, or 18 years old, or 25, honestly. It's a sense of, I know that I'm not this body. Who would you be without this story? That what you see in the mirror is you. You can turn any thought that you have like this that's painful around, and always remember that if you have a painful thought, if it causes some kind of suffering or discomfort on the inside of you, it means it probably isn't really true for you. You're telling yourself a lie. So this body is not ugly. This body is beautiful. This body is human. This body is participating in the great scheme of things. I'm here through this body, this envelope, and you can write everything you believe about this body and what you dislike about it and what you think is terrible, and it can be an amazing process of inquiry, because it's really, my thinking is fat. My thinking is fat, not my body. My thinking is piled on and focusing all on this one area called a human body, and letting and weighing down and being layered and full. So then I know what to do. With fat thinking, I question it. Is it true? And I let it dissolve, and I let it relax, and I just let it sit over there in the corner. I don't get mad at it and try to change it instantly. I just let it relax. And I just remember that it's my thinking is too fat about the body, not the body itself. All right. Take care, everybody. Lots of love.